Hey guys, so we have now looked at the artwork of Kehinde Wiley, and we've looked at all of the different designs and patterns he uses as the background. So as we've gone through, we have done each of our different steps, and today we're going to put them together. So we started with our drawing, and then we added color. From there, we moved on to creating our background, looking at different designs and patterns of very old Renaissance and Baroque curtain designs, wallpaper designs, upholstery designs, because that is what Kehinde creates his backgrounds out of. Now, one of the things we've also noticed is that he uses some of these designs to overlap his portraits. So what we did is when we drew our background, we made another paper that had some of the designs on them, and we cut them out, which is what we're working on today. Also, our portrait, we're going to go ahead and cut that out as well. So first things first, get both of your papers that you have for your background. Your background paper stays your background paper. Your other paper that has your design on it, I want you to take your time and cut that out. This is why we're doing it in the video, because now is a good time. You can go ahead and stop the video, take your time cutting, and come back to it. You have plenty of time to work on this over the next week. So as we're doing our backgrounds, I also chose a pattern background. So if you have a pattern paper that you would like to use for your portrait background instead, that is also an option. So I have this background and that design that I picked, but I also have this background. And I cut out part of that also. So those are my two options that I have right now. So go ahead, focus on the background. You have your background piece that stays whole, but that extra one, go ahead and cut your design out. Okay, so next we have our portrait. Our portrait also needs to be cut out because we are going to collage it into our background. So when we're doing our portrait, you're going to cut around as best you can. Depending on what you've done with your hair, you may have lots of little bits to cut out as you're working your way around. So what we're going to do is cut out our portrait. So take your time. Not sure why that just did that. That's better. Yay! So see, just like in class, not always everything working the way it should. Sometimes things happen and we adjust. Okay, so you've stopped the video, you've watched the video, you've gone back and done this. So here's what we have now. I have my portrait that is cut out. I have my detail pieces, and I have my backgrounds. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to work on putting them together. First, you can choose where you want your portrait to go, lining it up on your background. It's entirely up to you. So we have several different ones. I actually kind of like this going more sideways because then I can see more of my background fitting in that way. It goes all the way from the bottom up to the top. So once I've done that, I'm going to glue down my self-portrait, either glue sticks or liquid glue. We don't need a lot. The less glue we use, the quicker it will stick and dry. Now, once we have done that, the next step is adding in our other element. So actually, I don't like that way, and I want to cut them down. So I have different ones. So even though that was drawn as all one piece, I can come in and I can add and lay it out before you glue it down to decide where you might want them and how you might want them to be added. So I can add that like that. Oh, I could even have one coming in from the side. So see how overlapping my self-portrait with some of my details from the background makes it look more like a Kehinde Wiley portrait, because he brings those drawn elements from the background into the portrait. So even though the background is very, very different than the portrait that he creates, bringing those drawn elements over top make it fit together. So if I was to do it here with this one, lining it up this way, and then bringing this over top or from the side. And I really like the one with the flowers better, because I think having those flowers and that color really helps it stand out. So once you've pieced yours together and you have glued down your parts, that is your finished self-portrait inspired by Kehinde Wiley. I hope you guys have fun. Go through, position your portrait differently on your background, position your background differently. Move the parts around before you glue them down so you can decide what you like best about how yours is put together. Because there are many, many different ways that these can be put together. And notice how all of them I'm able to position them and move them around without covering up the majority of my portrait. Now I could, but that is not how Kehinde Wiley uses his. He uses them as an extra artistic element, but he doesn't cover up his portraits with the designs. So have fun putting them together, and I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. All right, bye.